Hey guys, I'm Mark.
I'm Alen.
And welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Next Man Up podcast. So glad you are here because we want to equip you to raise up the next generation of men of faith and character, because when boys become healthy and godly men, everyone benefits. My name is Mark Stanford. Good to be with you as always. And I'm joined once again by my two compadres, Alen and Josh. Good to virtually see you both.
Good to be here.
Yes, good to be here, man.
So I read an article recently, and it's been a while since we've teed up an article in this context, but it caught my attention, and I thought it'd be good to kind of tease this one out today for our topic, for our focus. The article put out by All Pro Dads is entitled "7 Things to Do with Your Son Before Graduation." And my son is just a number of weeks away from graduation at time of recording. And so it caught my attention. And so I was curious, what they had to suggest about dads and sons and things to do. And so there's 7 things. And here's the quick rundown of the list. Number 1, college tour. And I don't know if they were prioritized in the article or just sort of randomized. But number 1 is take a college tour. Number 2, take an adventure trip with your son. Number 3, do something special involving his greatest interest. Number 4, a manhood blessing ceremony. Number 5, a service project. Number 6, cook a meal for the family. And number 7, involve him in a major purchase. Now, I know both of you guys have read the article and have spent some time thinking about it. I'm curious, Josh, what when you read through this, what stood out to you as you were working your way through?
My dad and I have had a really fantastic relationship over the years. He and I are still really good friends today, and we talk all the time. But one of the things I really wish we had been able to do. We had talked about it all through high school, but we never were able to make it happen. Was to go on a cross country motorcycle trip after I graduated, and we were planning on it. We had a route picked out. I'd never ridden a motorcycle, so I thought it would be really amazing. My dad used to ride a motorcycle. Actually, met my mom while he was riding a bike. Let me rephrase that. He was a motorcyclist at the time that he met my mom. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
And so I was really excited about it. And then some circumstances changed, and he had lost a job and started a company and really had to focus his time on that. And so we weren't able to take the adventure trip. It was really a disappointment at the time. Instead, I ended up working that summer for him in his business. And it took a long time before we were able to reconnect on that level. And I had moved out to Colorado in the meantime, and kind of gotten into backpacking, and he had never been backpacking before. And so we ended up in my mid-20s kind of doing like a consolation prize adventure trip. And he came out to Colorado, and we went backpacking.
Cool.
On I think out in the Flat Tops Wilderness, I think is where it was at, on the far west side of Colorado. And it was really good. We spent 3 days on the trail. We did this little, I think, 12-mile loop. And it was really fun. It was really amazing. And that ended up turning into a series of trips that we had throughout my 30s. And we just really developed this really great shared experience, a series of shared experiences in the backcountry of the Western United States. So we went to Monument Valley. We hiked down to Phantom Ranch at the Grand Canyon. We went to Havasu Falls. We hiked down to Havasu Falls, which is on the think the south side of the Grand Canyon is part of the same network. We went to Wyoming, we went to Montana, we went to Yosemite, or not Yosemite, we went to Yellowstone. And it was just really, really great to be able to connect with him that way. And I think that taking trips like that with your son, especially as a way to kind of mark that shift into manhood, can be really, really powerful. And it was interesting when he came out to Colorado on that first backpacking trip in my mid-20s. I was the guide. He hadn't been backpacking before, and so I took the role of planning the trip and figuring out our equipment and everything that we needed to do to successfully complete that trail. It wasn't anything that was. It wasn't like we were taking some 9-month Appalachian Trail kind of adventure. It was just 3 days, but to have to take on that responsibility and plan it myself was kind of a marker, kind of a milestone.
Yeah.
In my stepping into taking on the responsibilities that men have. And so if you're bent towards the outdoor lifestyle, if you live in the West, or if you kind of are bent in that direction, taking your son backpacking when they're still in their teenage or even boyhood years, and then letting them take the lead as they move into manhood can be a really powerful way of marking that transition.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's cool. That missed opportunity comes back, and it's meaningful and significant, and maybe even more so as when you're in your 20s and beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Neat.
cool. What else? Anything else stand out as you were going through this article?
I think the second thing for me is this is kind of a tradition that we had when I was growing up, and I don't know if it wasn't like we had it written down somewhere as like this is our tradition that we do as a family, but it was just something that kind of emerged over the years. And every Christmas, there was someone in the family who got a larger gift than everyone else. It was kind of like a big blowout present for one member of the family.
Okay.
And all the other members, would be in on the big gift. And one year, my dad had decided that he was going to buy our family a computer. And this was a big deal. This is early 90s. And so having a computer in the house was kind of a big deal. Not everybody had them in the house. If they did, they're usually pretty crummy. They weren't very good. And my dad decided that he was going to spend a significant amount of money on a computer. And so he took me with him I remember CompUSA is where we went.
Oh, yeah.
Which is now out of business. I mean, this is ancient history. I mean, CompUSA went down in like 2008, 2009 during that crisis. And so we went to CompUSA and we picked out an Apple Macintosh Centris 610. I remember it because it was an unusual computer to choose at the time. But we chose it, and it was probably it was like $2,500 or something like that in 1990s money. It was a lot of money. But my dad respected my opinion on that stuff because I was really into computers. I was really into technology. For my generation, computers were kind of like the hot rods of my dad's generation. And so the kinds of people that used to, that in their teenage years would get into the innards of a hot rod, my generation and I was really into understanding how to, this sounds like super cheeseball, but figure out how to soup up a computer. And so I read as much on that stuff as I could, and he just really respected my opinion. So he took me to CompUSA with him, and he trusted my choice of computer. With some of his, like, it was a conversation to just go pick out what you want. There's a conversation about it, and we ended up landing on this computer. We had that through my high school years. I think we had that at least 4 or 5 years, which that's a long time to have a computer, especially at the time where technology was changing so quickly. I think now the turnover rate on computers is a lot longer than it was then. But he just really trusted me, and wanted my opinion, and kind of walk through the process of purchasing that computer, and that was really cool. That felt really empowering to me as a teenager, that my dad actually respected what I knew.
That's a milestone.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I was like 13 or 14 at the time. So it was like those early teenage years. As a father, you have a lot of impact on your kid's opinion of themselves.
Yeah.
By sharing what your opinion is of them.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those were two things that I read this article. I was like, yeah, those sound like things that my dad did with me, that were really impactful for me.
Oh, that's cool, man. Those are great stories. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like for me, I think that milestone of like your dad helping you see that your thoughts and your wisdom matter, like that's really huge.
Yep.
And that's pretty big for any kid. And like I want to piggyback on that as I share just what stuck out to me. Like my story is a little different than most people's. And so like, you know, my biological dad, we don't have that type of relationship where I can't find anything on here that we did. Because I just wasn't in the home, you know what I mean? And he was divorced from my mom, and I was in the foster care and such. And so, but there were things that Ray, did with me that I would say had a lot of impact, like in my life as a father-son kind of relationship. The first thing that jumps out to me is like a college tour. So we would, you know, one of the things that like threw me for a joyful loop was this idea of family vacations. I didn't know anything about that until I was introduced to Ray's family. And so they would, I think the first trip was Busch Gardens in Virginia. He asked me if I wanted to go along, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but roller coasters sounds like fun.
So, count me in.
You know what I mean? And so and every year, like he would, you know, him and Sue would take us on these like family vacations. Well, one year, I was like, I think I was like 17 at the time. You know, it's my like junior, senior year, and I'm thinking about colleges and whatever. And I started thinking about like doing like ministry. Not sure if you a pastor or whatnot, but I just thought about ministry. And he was like, "Well, we're going on vacation to Florida, and then we got to drop your brother off in Ohio because he was going to college here." And he was like, "Well, why don't we go to the college that you're looking at in Indiana? We'll just make it like a crazy looking sort of triangle, and then we'll head back to Massachusetts afterwards." And I thought, I remember going, "Really? You would do that for me?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." Like, so we went, and it was kind of like what you're saying, Josh. It was like to trust me enough that I was picking a good college to go to like, I would ask questions like, "So what do y'all think of this college?" He's like, "Well, you know, I think it's a good college, but honestly, it's really up to you. What do you think? Like, does this college fit you?" It helped me like gain confidence in myself to go yay or nay about things in life. And that was a pretty powerful moment for me. I remember, like, you know, the guide was leading us through the college, and I was standing in the back. And by the end of the time, I was standing in the front and kind of asking questions about the college. I even asked, like, so why did you put your bathroom over there, like in the dorm? Just dumb questions. I was running out of questions to ask. I didn't know what to ask, but it was cool that my thoughts were being valued, and me as a person was being valued. Like my future was being valued. That was pretty neat. It taught me some cool things about that. And the second thing for me is this idea of service projects. You know, we did go. Okay, yes, Ray did bring us to some. I think I went to a soup kitchen with him like once. I know our church, one of the churches that we went to, Massachusetts, they fed people on Saturday morning free pancakes and stuff. And so Ray, you know, he would ask me and his kids, of course, they would go along, and Sue would be there and stuff. And we'll do things like that through church. But honestly, it was the one-on-one stuff that really stuck out to me for Ray. Ray would like pick up people who are hitchhikers and drive them somewhere. Ray was the one. I do this thing. My kids look at me weird all the time. We'll be driving somewhere and I'll see someone who's homeless, and I'll drive into a McDonald's, pick up a meal, and I'll drive back to the person and go, hey, you know, like I just thought you might like a meal, and do you want me to pray for you, Frank? I learned that from Ray. Ray would do that, and I'd be like, why are you stopping? You don't even know this person. Why are you buying someone food? Like, we gotta go, man. We're late for this thing or late for that thing. Or you pick up somebody and like, you know, drive them like a mile or two. And it always threw me off, but Ray was showing me something about caring about people around you. It wasn't just you on this planet. It was other people on this planet. And if you can be aware of them and be aware of their needs, and you can meet that need, you will grow this empathy in you, and you will grow this compassion in you, that can help affect other people. And man, that grew big in my heart, and I do it. I mean, I love doing that. And my kids have the same look that I had when I would watch Ray. They'd be like, Dad, we're on vacation.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Like, we're heading somewhere. Let's go. And it's like, well, let's just get this person something to eat, because you never know what that person may need. And just even like the stories that have opened up from people just sharing about their lives and getting a chance to pray for them, man, I just, it's so cool. And my hope is that what was instilled in me will get instilled in them, you know. And as I've grown into a man, like it's something that's at the forefront of my heart. It was something that was imparted to me by Ray, you know?
Yeah.
You know, one thing that an old pastor taught me was to measure our relationship with Jesus based on our ability to be interrupted. That, like, how willing are we to set aside what our plans are in order to go take care of what is directly in front of us, rather than ignoring it. It sounds like your dad did the same thing for you.
Yeah, he did that pretty well.
Those are great thoughts and stories, guys. You know, when I looked down through the list, I started to think about the things that I did as the teenager before graduation, and things that I've done as the dad, as both of my sons have progressed to graduation. But the two that stood out for me really were the cook a meal for the family. And then there's two different angles there, because, you know, I got a senior that is graduating soon, as I mentioned, and the home right now is filled with different opportunities for him to get in the kitchen and to get comfortable with how to maneuver around preparing food. And, you know, it's one thing to just pull something out of the freezer, throw it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and then eat it.
Yeah.
But it's really been, to be quite honest, it's been my wife's mission to send him, as we did his older brother, launch him with these skills, and including cooking. And so that he's not just completely lost in the kitchen. He's got some sense of the utensils and the tools and the ingredients and how to put it together. And
Hmm.
he's learning that in the space of our home. And as I reflect on my childhood, there were lots of times where I was making my own stuff because my schedule was a little different, or I was contributing in the kitchen, probably not as much as my mom would prefer or as I could have. But I was definitely fluent with maneuvering around simple things in the kitchen. And so when I launched and got out on my own, I didn't need YouTube to tell me how to prepare food or to follow a recipe or things like that. And even broader than that, as I think beyond just the kitchen and cooking, it was some familiarity, although my dad was never a mechanic, some familiarity with how to diagnose some things going on in the car,
Hmm.
or maneuvering around outdoor equipment, whether it's a chainsaw or a power tool or a lawnmower, or even some work around the house, like just managing a plunger, and clearing a toilet. Like these are things that I take for granted today
Yeah.
because I'm able to do them. And I could have figured them out as an adult, yes, but I had opportunity as a youngling to be guided by the father who was like, hey, you can do this too, or why don't you take a shot at this and I'll look over your shoulder and I'll be there as kind of the safety net. Like I had some of those life skills as I launched from the home already. And I think that, and we were talking about milestones, right? I think those can be milestones that help build confidence and security in, I got this. I can
Yeah.
figure this out. And oh, by the way, what do I do when I have a problem today or a question today? My generation, our generation, isn't so quick to just go to the internet. I'll still pick up my phone and call my dad. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Dad, I got this fill in the blank, and can you help me think this through? So like some those seeds were sown way back when I was 12, 15, 18 years old, and I was getting some opportunity and space to develop those life skills.
That's neat, man. Yeah. Even as you're talking, Mark, I'm like, man, yeah, Ray taught me how to change brakes. I learned to
Mm-hmm.
change an alternator. I I learned to check my tires.
Mm-hmm.
Sue, she taught me like some really cool uh, uh, tips on food, like cooking, and yeah, man, the little things as you were talking, like, man, listen, there's so many little tiny things that like help me be a confident person that seem so minuscule,
Yeah.
but had a big impact like in my
Yeah.
life. Yeah, you're right on that, man.
Yeah,
And
until you start to look back, it's like you kind of take for granted that you learned them from somebody else, and
right,
maybe take for granted how influential they can be as you pass them on to your kids.
yes, yes.
Um, the other one that stands out for me is, as you could guess, the manhood blessing ceremony. And I won't
Mm,
recount my story, but I didn't have this when I was launching. And that was really part of the impetus for why the three of us are talking today
yeah,
is an awareness moment in my late 20s that I didn't have this. And how cool would it be to involve my in do something like this for my boys? And my boys were young when I first started thinking about it, but I've already taken one through, and within a matter of weeks from this recording, I will have taken my second one through and completed the cycle. And it's just really, really, really cool to experience that from the dad side, but also to be able to give that gift to the boy as he then becomes man, and to just pass on that blessing in a ceremony type of way. It's just, I can't emphasize enough just how cool it is. And so I'm really looking forward to what's coming here in a couple of weeks, and just see that as the completion of a vision that I had 10, 12, 15 years ago when I first started thinking about what would it be like to be able to fill in that gap that I didn't have for my boys, to just launch them even bigger and better than when I launched way back when. So that as you could guess, that's the other one that stood out for me.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's not like a plug for what. It's not like we're selling anything to go along with that.
Yeah.
No. Seriously, like, it's not like we planned this episode to end on the note of like
no,
transition into manhood, journey to manhood kind of thing. I mean, that is what the Next Man Up is about.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that All Per Dads mentions that as one of these 7 ideas for helping your son.
Yeah, I think you're right on, Josh. I think there is an awakening today in this era of the importance of recognizing that for boys. And, it takes different shapes and forms, some of which we've talked about here, and others are different ways that other guys are doing it for their sons. But it's a critical piece, and the generation of dads that exist today, by and large, didn't have that. And so to be able to offer that to this up and coming generation, and to launch them in a better, stronger way that recognizes the masculine energy and the importance of this process and ceremony for boys becoming men. That's a significant step in the right direction, and part of our mission, right? Like, helping boys become healthy and godly men will change the world. It will impact everybody in a positive way when that happens. And for us to play a part of it as an organization is fantastic. But even more specifically and selfishly, to be a part of it as a dad, and offering this to my boys, and then thinking about grandsons down the road, and if I'm blessed and live long enough, great grandsons, and the ripple in the water extends well beyond just my immediate children. And boy, I'm excited to see that impact as we go through time.
Good stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, I'll post the article if you're interested in reading it. I think we did a pretty good job of capturing the salient points from our perspective, but I'll post the article out there. And if you got any feedback or comments or questions about it, things that you would add to the list, maybe things that you don't think need to be on the list, as always, you can hit us up at feedback@thenextmanup.com, or catch us on Facebook at NMU Journey. That's where we live out there. All right, Alen, Josh, as always, good to be with you. Thanks, guys, for your stories. And for the content. And until next time, listeners, we will say, as usual, adios.
Adios.
Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.